Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Another Dime in the Jukebox. And this is my third interview with rock icon Roni Lee. Hi again, Roni.
Hi, Maria. So good to see you again. We're just it's a regular meeting now. We're just hanging out. I'm gonna miss you when we're not doing these.
Well, let's see. So we're at question number 8 right now, and
All
I
right,
have 10 more questions. So we'll
let's
see
do it.
how many interviews it's gonna take for us to do.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the questions then.
Okay.
So, did Venus and the Razor Blades do any tours, like around the US or around any other country?
No touring. We just did recording, just played the LA area, and we it was a pretty volatile band. A lot of things were volatile back then, so we didn't actually do a tour. In fact, like I said, we had T-shirts and product out before we even finished the album. That's Kim Valley for you, though. So, just we just played California,
Mhm,
just the Southern California area.
mhm. I see. Well, I mean, at least you guys got to play the LA area.
Yeah, we did, and we did stuff with we partnered up with a couple bands. One of them was Van Halen, and a few other bands, the Dogs, the
Mhm.
uh, a lot of the LA bands. That we everybody played the same clubs that, and people were playing all the time, so it kept us pretty busy. Plus we were very young. A lot of us couldn't go really anywhere. So, it got to remember we were everybody, most people except for Steve. I don't think he was younger. Were under 18, you
Mhm.
know. So it was a little bit tough. It was easier for the Runaways, and because I think their parents were more involved, a little bit more involved. Joan's parents lived there at the time. I know Sandy's parents did, Pesaventos, and then everybody else. They're all from there too. But my parents weren't even in town. I don't even know where they were, but they're gone.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Well, speaking of David Lee Roth, so I read in one of your former interviews that at one point David Lee Roth put you in a barrel and rolled you down the stairs at the Whiskey.
Yes, we did a lot of antics before we would go on stage, and usually it was me and Joan and the boys, and we would wrestle because this is punk rock, so we wanted to get all hyped up and amped up, and for some reason wrestling was the best way to do it. So sometimes we would just wrestle, just literally get on the ground and wrestle. And I'm not sure if there was a winner or a loser in it. And then sometimes we would get on the guy's shoulders and wrestle like two as a stack.
Like chicken.
Also, I don't know why, just thought seemed like a good idea at the time. So at one point, David, there's a famous whiskey barrel up there, and so he just shoved me in the whiskey barrel. I mean, I got in it, so it's again wasn't. I must have thought it was a good idea too, and sent me down the stairs. I mean, he didn't push me down there, but he went with me and rolled me down the stairs. And I got out, and I was like, okay, we won't do that again.
It's a pretty narrow staircase too. I mean,
Very narrow staircase.
yeah,
It's just
that
a
barrel,
little
pretty,
same.
yeah, that
You've
barrel.
been there, yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
it's narrow. But in those days the dressing rooms were set up differently. When you get up to the top of the staircase, there was one long dressing room instead of how it's broken up into two or three now. It was just one dressing room, and the office was where the other dressing room is now. So things were just a little bit different. It was just the rooms were different back then.
I see. Yeah, but they kept that staircase pretty much the same, right?
Oh yeah, there's never been any other way to get up there. And same with getting on the stage. The stage has never changed. The upstairs, that stairway going to the upstairs, that's all the same. The
Mhm.
bars are the same. Yeah, nothing's changed. I don't think they've changed the pleather on the seats even. I don't think, because
Hmm.
there's not a lot of seating at the Whiskey. There's a few tables upstairs, and then there's the otherwise it's standing room only downstairs, except for those booths on the very back wall. And
Yeah.
that's and I've never seen any other setup in the Whiskey. That's always been how it's since the 70s. It's been that way anyway.
Wow. I mean, that's definitely really cool to know because I've always I've been to the Whiskey more times than I can count. By now,
Right.
I've been going there since 2017.
Sure.
And honestly, it's really good to know that they haven't really changed the setting that much. I mean,
Yeah, no different. Same with the other clubs in town as well. The other rock clubs on Sunset. The Roxy is not really changed. The Troubadour exactly the same. They're all the same. They've probably fixed a couple of things, but the setup is the same,
I
which is
mean,
kind of nice.
that's definitely really good to know. Every single time I
Yeah.
go to those clubs, I always feel like I'm part of this huge history. Like, honestly, it feels so good to know that they're still around from those.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I just played the Sand Dollar in Las Vegas a couple weeks ago. Same thing. They've been the same setup, the same bar, the same cool vibe since well, they've been there since 1976. So, and when bars don't change, they retain this kind of vibe and spirit about them, especially if they've been a lot of rock and roll in there. I don't know. You just feel it when you walk in. It's just cool vibe. It just is.
Oh, yeah.
It's too bad the Starwood still isn't here because that place, oh, that was my favorite club in LA to play. There was other places like the Longhorn and Golden Bear down on Huntington Beach. The Longhorn was in Pasadena, which is where Van Halen's from. Those guys were all based out of Pasadena, and they played the Longhorn there. Like that was their hometown bar. So
I
a lot
see.
of fun, a lot of fun places.
Yeah, I definitely feel bad that Rodney's English Disco isn't there anymore.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't remember. I think the Viper Room used to be the Central
Mhm.
before it was the Viper Room. And I thought before that it was Filthy McNasty's, but I could be wrong about that. Filthy McNasty's was another club that was going pretty strong in the 70s and was a little more of a funk bar, but I played there quite a few times. So they did a lot of rock as well. It was different though when you walked in. So I have to I suppose Google could tell us in a couple of minutes, but if it's not the same location, it's within a block. And then of course Licorice Pizza, which is the record store. We talked about that. Kitty corner from the Whisky. That was such a cool place too, and it's gone. Well, so is Tower, but the
Yeah.
Towers building is still there, and it still says Tower Records as far as I know.
Actually, it doesn't. I
It
mean,
doesn't anymore.
I don't know if you know this, but they actually completely took down Tower Records and the building is still there, but they replaced it with some sort of a clothing store. It looks like
Oh,
it's,
they did. See, the last time I was there, and maybe I just envisioned it because I knew the building was still there. But in fact, I just saw the Led Zeppelin movie last night, and that was amazing because they had some shots of inside Tower Records, of inside Sunset Sound, and a lot of the stuff back in the day. Although their shots were mostly, I think, from the later '60s, even before me, if possible. But yeah, but it looks the same. It's pretty funny.
let's see, what's the name of the movie you saw?
Uh, the Led Zeppelin movie, it's like a documentary that's out right now for Led Zeppelin. They can't remember the exact name of it. The making of Led Zeppelin or the something like that.
Okay,
Uh,
well, okay.
it's amazing. It's got a lot um, of the of the places that we're talking about.
Well,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I will definitely check it out.
Yeah, yeah, you would like it. Oh,
Uh,
becoming Led Zeppelin. That's what it's called.
I see.
So
Okay.
it's all the beginnings of how they got together and everything. A lot of UK stuff. Of course, they started in London. So
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely check it out. Yeah, one
but
of
they loved LA. Everybody does. Everybody wants to be in LA.
hmm. Yeah, one of my former interview subjects also told me about this. Let's see. It was a documentary about the Rainbow Bar and Grill that you can find on YouTube. I
Uh-huh.
haven't checked it out, but I definitely intend to.
Well, yeah, the beginning. They used to do a Monday night. A lot of the Mario and the dad, I forget his name now, and then one of their they've all passed on now, to be honest. I'm not sure about Mario, but the mom, the aunt that used to bartend upstairs, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on their names, but it was quite a family run deal and on Monday nights they would give a history of the rainbow, so you could sit at the tables there and listen to the whole history of it and where the different people sat in the 50s, the famous actors, and of course they named it after uh, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is the Wizard of Oz movie. And because Judy Garland, she had a booth there, and it's a whole thing. Goes the whiskey goes way back to famous, the that a beautiful original Hollywood and the glamour of Hollywood, way before us rockers took it over. So way before Lemmy even. So.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea that the Rainbow Bar and Grill was named after Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Yeah, it's all about Disney and Judy Garland and those famous, because of course the whiskey's been there since, well, I don't even know, gosh, 50s maybe. I can't remember. It's gone. It's changed its sort of demographic many times. It was not disco, but the whiskey a go-go. So there was go-go dancers and all that, but it's been a theater, I think early on, but it's really interesting, from the whiskey and then going on up to the Rainbow. And it was very, very old Hollywood at that time. So more actors, of course, because there wasn't, rock music. It was, 70s and 80s hadn't happened yet. So we're talking 50s and early 60s. So it was much more, a lot of more actors going there at the time. So it's a great documentary. That whole block is so interesting, and the things that have gone on there is so cool. I'm glad the whiskey hasn't sold yet, and then because there's been rumors of that so many times, but so far so good.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing about the Viper Room. In fact, they even have an artist hanging outside of the. It's not like actually outside the Viper Room, but they have it hanging in the window of that liquor store that's right next to it.
Yeah, it's been rumored to be sold for a long, long, long time. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Hopefully, whoever does buy it, or if it is for sale, I don't know the dealings of it, and it could change every day, but we'll see. But yeah, and maybe they're just doing that to sell tickets. I don't know. Get there before it's gone,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hopefully they're just doing it to sell tickets. But
yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, it's got obviously a long history as well. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of my friends told me that it's going to be the same people who actually bought the House of Blues, the blues that used to be on Sunset. I have only been there once in 2014, and then I remember that they took it down in 2019 maybe, or 2018.
Something like that. Last person I saw there was Joan Jett, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she did her album there, and me and the publisher, and I don't think Kim went, but because he was pretty sick at that time, but he was alive, so it must have been obviously before then.
Yeah.
And he did a screen, congratulations to her, and yeah, we hung out. It was fun. It was fun seeing her. I think that it's not the last time I've seen her, but that was the last time I was there, and that was a pretty big shindig. It was fun.
Yeah, that's a while ago then. That was like 10 whole years ago.
It was probably 13 he passed in 15, early in 15, so it was probably 13 or 14, 2013, or maybe even 14 that happened. Something like that.
I see. Yeah, 2014 was actually the year that I visited the House of Blues for the very first time. I went there to a burlesque show. I totally forget the name of the burlesque group that was performing. Yeah, I'm totally blanking out on the name, but then again,
I'm having a hard time with names today too, so we'll just move on.
Okay.
Anyway,
Anyway, let's move on to the next question.
Sure.
So I think that you may already have told me about this during in our previous interview, but I'm just going to ask it again because that's the best way to learn, to like hear stuff like over and over again. But how did you first meet Joan Jett and the other Runaways members?
Well, I don't remember if I told you. Well, I was working in Reno, Nevada in a show band where I was learning how to play guitar. Actually, I was kind of honing my guitar skills. So I was working with this keyboard player. She was a jazz player. And I was trying to keep my gig because I was we did like 6 1-hour sets. It was grueling, But again, I was super young and I had to read charts and I didn't really know how to do that. I mean, I could sort of, just everything was by ear at that point. So I was just getting this whole immersion in guitar playing. And Rick Derringer was there and Johnny Winter. For some reason, we were all hanging out because everybody was playing shows back then in Reno. This was in the Reno area, not Vegas. And again, I would read Billboard. I would read these magazines that would come out of LA, just trying to keep myself abreast of what was going on in Los Angeles. And I saw this ad, because they used to have ads in these papers, cattle calls for musicians. Uh-huh. And I didn't know who the Runaways were. I hadn't heard of that, but when I read in the paper that this guy had put an all-girl band together, and now he was looking to put a mixture of he was into these teenage bands. He wanted to have teenage bands because he saw that punk was happening, so he wanted to bring punk to LA. Mm-hmm. So the first punk band he put together was the Runaways, and then he wanted to do a male female punk. But everybody had to be teenagers. So he had it in an ad in the paper. I'm like, huh. So I call him up, and he didn't believe me, and I make my way over there for that story. But and he comes into my apartment because he said, you have to be playing your guitar when I show up. So he shows up, I get the job, and right away he goes, I got to introduce you to Joan Jett. She's in my other band, my Runaways band. And we just clicked. We looked like each other. We acted like each other. We wore the same leather jackets. We were like, the freaking Bobbsey twins. We were both huge. She was a bigger Suzi Quatro fan than me. She was a huge fan. Joan was her beginning was probably more as a fan of music than as a musician. I don't know that I'm not going to speak to her personal drive because that would be rude, but it just appeared to me that she was more like, she just wanted to be part of what was happening. And she really, really, really fangirled out on certain players. And Suzi Quatro was one of them. She was just, and then we played, and because I was a good guitar player, and she would come and see me all the time. And we just got to be good friends. And we ended up, and we all, at different times, all lived in the same places at different times because we bounced around. Again, then I ended up rooming with Sandy, but I also cut all their hair for the album that they're holding on to the stripper poles. And I think I have a picture of me cutting Cherie's hair, and because everybody wanted their hair all spiky. So except Lita, I didn't cut her hair. I don't think I cut Jackie's either. But so we just got to be good friends, and we palled around LA like a couple of, twinsies for the entire time until she left.
I see. Yeah, that's a really great story. And Joan left for New York, I'm guessing in the late 90s.
79,
80. Yeah, right.
She left pretty early. Well, I'm not sure if she went directly to New York. I went to New York and did some recording, and then went on a tour thing and ended up in Seattle, signing to an agreement up there. But I think she went somewhere else. She was with Toby Mamus, who is called Famous Toby Mamus. And of course, she's never left Kenny Laguna, but Toby was booking her and working with her at the time too. And I think she went to Phil. I don't think she's from New York. I think she's from Philly or something like that.
Too.
Yeah. And then she ended up living in New York. So, and I'll be in New York this summer. So I usually try to reach out to her whenever I get out there. But yeah.
Have you spent any time with Cherie?
Oh yeah, quite a bit. I've done shows with her. We're probably we're pretty good friends. We chat on the phone once in a while and text, and she's doing some different stuff now. She's not doing as much performing. I think she did for whatever reason, her last show at the Whisky a few weeks ago, in fact, and I wasn't able to be there because I wasn't in town. But yeah, I chat with her not all the time, but whenever it's necessary or for whatever reason. But she's great. She's on a path right now. She does a lot of stuff. She does her chainsaw wood carving, and she's a very talented woman.
Oh yeah. So. Yeah, I actually went to her last LA show. It was at the Whisky on November 2nd, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, second or third. And I feel super bummed to when I found out that she's never gonna play in LA before. And I believe that the last time that I saw her play live in Los Angeles before this, it was about 6 years ago, I'd say. Actually, well, maybe like 5 years ago at that point, because it was the summer of 2019. It was the August
Okay.
2019. She and Brie Darling performed at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA.
Right. I think I
Yeah, and
remember that. I think I remember that show too. Yeah. And her son performs a lot too. JK is, so I've been to a few of his shows with her. So she gets out and sees him quite a bit. And he played drums for her for a while. Where did I play with? I played with her in San Diego somewhere at Brick by Brick, and we did a show together down there. So yeah, uh, yeah, I'm gonna miss seeing her, but I don't think she wants to do that anymore, or not very often. I don't know. No, people say never, and then sometimes something happens. So we'll see.
yeah, it was like when Motley Crue decided to
I know.
actually no, yeah, they broke up in 2015. That's what I heard, and then they decided to get back together like
Right,
later or a couple of years later. So, and I'm
right.
really glad they did because I saw them at the SoFi. It was like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was August 2022. So yeah, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I saw Vince Neil actually quite recently, and I thought he looked really good. He had lost some weight, and he was singing pretty good, and seemed to have lots of energy. And I know a lot of people give him crap, but you know what? This is not an easy business, and nobody looks like they did in 1982. So, good for him for hanging in there. And he keeps going. So, I know criticize, but the same with like David Lee Roth and all these people, and that people they can be very critical. And I go, hey, it's not easy staying in the music business for 50 years. Let me tell you, not easy.
I
So,
heard this about Vince Neil as well, that like he can't sing live anymore. And I always kind of wondered. I mean, I thought he sounded great when I saw them at the SoFi.
I don't think that's true. I mean, I just saw him sing. I saw him sing with his band, and I think Slaughter is the band that he uses as sort of his backup band. With Blas Elias on drums and those guys. And it wasn't a Motley Crue show, but it doesn't matter. It was Vince Neil, and he was singing fine. I mean, was he Vince Neil 45 years ago? No, but he certainly is still a rock singer. So I would challenge anybody that would say he's not. So I don't know him personally, never hung out, but I'm just saying what I've seen. I don't know. Plus, I'm not critical of that. I'm not that kind of a critic, so have to go to somebody else for that kind of stuff because I don't. I appreciate. I know like David Lee Roth. Well, David Lee Roth never was a great singer, but that guy could scream like a banshee. I thought he was perfect for rock and roll. Personally, Axl Rose, those kind of guys. I mean, I just saw them fairly recently. It's probably been 10 years ago now, but oh my gosh, what a great show! Guns N' Roses for 3 hours they played. That's not easy, and I thought they kicked ass. So yeah, I think it's great when these bands can still play. It's awesome.
I need to listen to more Guns N' Roses. Yeah, in fact, earlier today, I did another interview, and it was with the creator for a podcast called The Appetite for Distortion. And
Oh,
yeah, it's a Guns N' Roses themed podcast because he's
uh-huh.
as like this huge fan of Guns N' Roses, and like him and his friend thought that they should put a podcast together. Yeah,
Oh,
and they did. Yeah, sometimes they like. I think that they started out like just talking about Guns N' Roses and their love for the band and all of the different
sure.
stuff, but then eventually it ventured out into like this huge thing. I mean, he has interviewed a lot of
There must be tons of things to talk about with those guys though. And there's the side projects, the different directions each member. I mean, just watching that movie last night, I didn't, it gives the whole background of each of the members, John Paul Jones and and Bonham and Robert Plant and Jimmy Page I mean, you just had no idea, that they were studio musicians, some of them, and nerds, to be honest, and Jimmy Page was still kind of a nerd in a way, but still the coolest nerd that you'll ever see. So it's just great. It's really great to see that stuff. So I'm glad they're doing that because these bands all have histories and how they got there, and their story of getting there is just as interesting. I would think it is to me. You
well,
know.
Me as well, yeah, because I mean that's the reason why I enjoy reading rock star biographies so much. Actually,
Right.
biographies in general. I recently just finished reading the books by two former Playboy bunnies. I read
Oh, really?
book and I read Kendra Wilkinson's. I also read Pamela Anderson's.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, well, I went to a lot of Wilt Chamberlain's parties up there, and Hugh Hefner was big in the area at the time as well. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in Hollywood that skirted around rock and roll, where it all kind of came together. The actors and the partiers and the entertainers and the comedians, because Comedy Store is right there on Sunset Boulevard, right next to the Hyatt, what was formerly known as the Hyatt House, or the Riot House as we called it. So gosh, I mean, that's when all the comedians started. Like I said, hung out with Robin Williams and all those guys. They were just starting. He was just on his new show, Mork and Mindy. He was all excited about it with his suspenders.
I'm definitely planning on making it out to the Comedy Store when I
Yeah.
because like I said, so I just went to a show this past Saturday. I went to the oh my gosh. I'm totally blanking out on names today. I did not get much sleep last night. Permanent Records Roadhouse.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, used to be Cafe Nella. It used to be called Cafe Nella, I think like back in the 2010s. But
Okay.
they changed, must have been a few years ago. I went there to see my friend Johnny Nasty Boots play.
Okay.
Really check him out. And then next Saturday, I'm going to the Viper Room. I'm going to see my friend's band Big Heart. I'm going to see you play, obviously.
Right.
Like honestly, I had no idea that you were going to be on that bill. So like when you just told me about it, like I was really like pleasantly surprised. I think
Yeah.
you,
Well, like I said, I have a small record label, and I really kind of mentor younger or emerging artists. They're not all younger, and I have two artists that had releases this year, and I had one as well. I have a new release, a new group of songs that I released on an EP called "Feels Good to Be Bad," and then I have two artists that had one has a EP release or an album release, and one has a single release. So they all wanted to play the Viper Room. So we jumped on that show as well. So I don't play the Viper Room very much, hardly at all. And I rarely will play the Whisky. Once in a while I do, but it's just a lot of reasons. But those rooms have taken on a bit of a different vibe when it comes to bands and the pay to play thing and all that sort of thing. So I mean, there's still great venues to go to, and it's a great way to support bands because there's usually a lot of them playing, and they've got music I think almost every night of the week. Of course, Whisky, I do the Ultimate Jam quite a bit there, and that's always on a Tuesday. Haven't done that now for a few months, but
yeah, and the Whiskey always does their 80s night on Monday nights, I think.
yeah, yeah, that's always fun. Now the
Yeah.
Whiskey's still rocking. And
Oh,
it, and they pack out every night. It doesn't even matter what day of the week it is, so it's pretty cool.
yeah, I remember back in 2019, I went to the Whiskey a few times to see this band, the Rubik's Cube. So they're this like 80s cover band. They play a lot of 80s hits, and honestly, it's I think they had a residency at the Whiskey like back in the spring of 2019, and I went to see them more than once. Like I said,
Really.
yeah, it was amazing. I mean, they put on such a great show. This
Hmm.
singer, like he dresses up as like all of these like rock and roll icons from the 80s. He dressed up as Dee Snider. He dressed up
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it was so amazing. He was so like really great at impersonating all of them. And I mean such a great vocalist too. I mean I had a blast. Like
That sounds like a lot of fun. I wouldn't mind seeing a show like that. That'd be fun. I yeah, I haven't seen them.
yeah, honestly it's really too bad that they stopped performing at the Whiskey because like the only time that I saw them play there was those few times. And like I think it was like in April and May of 2019.
Uh-huh.
And like because I think they're from the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
New York, maybe they're from Pennsylvania or something. I
Mhm.
can't remember, but yeah, like I said, they were doing the residency there, and actually, I might reach out to them and ask them like if they're gonna play in LA again.
Yeah, that would be fun. They're perfect for that. They really are. That's exactly what the Whiskey's about. Kind of nostalgic. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I still gotta go to the ultimate jam night at the Whiskey because I think that I may have been to one of them previously. I can't really remember. You said that they're on Tuesdays.
They're always on Tuesdays, and I think I saw an ad that one's coming up. I don't know if I'm in town for that one or not, but they're always a good show. So they used to do it every Tuesday, but that is not the case anymore. Now it's more like it's special nights, so maybe once a month, maybe something like that. I
I
don't know what the frequency is, but it's not every week like it used to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's going to easily be checked on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just Ultimate Jam Night. They've got a Facebook page and everything. So yeah, not hard to find.
Yeah, so I definitely got to check out when that next time that's going to be happening.
Yeah, right.
So, anyway, let's move on with the questions. So,
Okay,
1977, you lived with Joan Jett and Sandy West.
right.
Yeah, how did you guys come about living together anyway?
Well, initially, remember, I was only over there staying in my friend's walk-in closet,
All
you
right.
know. So I kind of wanted something a little bit more comfortable because I got the job. I wasn't sure if I was going to. I thought I would get the job, but I wasn't sure. And I wasn't ready to come back to LA necessarily yet because I was making pretty good money over there, but you get an opportunity and you take it. So I didn't really have a permanent residence. So I stayed with Joan. Joan and Sandy and I didn't live together all at the same time. I stayed with Joan for a little while, just kind of, I think somehow she had that apartment that we talked about. It wasn't directly across from the Whiskey, but it was back more just a block east of the Whiskey and south, back in those apartments. And so did Kim. He had an apartment back there as well. And I think that if I'm not mistaken, Kim and Joan and Lita were all in the same apartment for a little while. And then Joan got her own place. And then I stayed with Joan for a little while. And then Sandy wanted to move back to Santa Monica because she's a beach girl. She was a skater, she surfed and she was outdoors. I am not. I do not like to go outside. I don't ever go outside and I'm not a beach girl. But she had this great apartment in Santa Monica. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll go live in Santa Monica. And I bought her car. She had a really cool El Camino, midnight blue El Camino that I bought from her. So I had a car finally. I think up until that point, I'd probably had a car sometime in my life, but I hadn't had one for a while. So I bought her car. That way we were able to go back and forth into LA from Santa Monica. But that's so it wasn't all at the same time. It was Joan first, then Sandy, and I didn't have to sleep in the closet anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely great that you found a better living situation.
Yeah, and a more fun one. But we were never hardly. I don't even remember being home very often. I mean, we were rarely. We're just like we just get up and we were gone. We recorded in the studio there somewhere in LA. I can't even remember where. It wasn't Sunset. It was a different studio, and I'm trying to remember because we were on Island Records with Chris Blackwell, and it was a division of Island called Bomp Records, BOMP, which is I don't even know. They're still around. It was the punk label for the punk stuff. So we did a lot of recording and writing and running around, and you know, didn't exactly hang out and watch TV too much.
I see. Well, you guys had lots to do. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah, we sure did.
makes
And
sense.
I don't remember even seeing Cherie. I think Cherie and Marie still lived in the Valley, probably with their parents. And I know Lita lived in LA, but and I don't have any idea where Jackie lived. I don't even know because I wasn't really close with Jackie or Cherie at the time.
I see. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was actually going to ask you like how well you knew Cherie too, and like
I didn't know Cherie hardly at all back then. We did not really hang out. We would, I mean, we didn't not hang out. We just, she wasn't a guitar player, so you know, and so yeah, we didn't really. Uh, like I said, other than I did her hair, and we did stuff together when we all got together and show up for shows or something like that. But we didn't hang out.
But you guys weren't particularly close.
No, no, we weren't. And I wasn't close to Lita at all.
I see. Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of weird. Yeah, I remember like reading back then that Lita had she kind of had a strong personality.
Well, she currently still has a strong personality. she's a she's definitely knows what she wants. She doesn't she was she hung out with Richie Blackmore a lot. Richie Blackmore was her mentor and her guitar mentor and her teacher and everything. And she spent a lot of time at Richie's house. And I did too. We were over there for hangouts and stuff like that. He was a nice guy, but he was odd. He would only allow classical music to be played at his house. And, he was just really into weird modes and scales. And I think, and she really loved Deep Purple. And I think you can even hear it in her solos. She's very Deep Purple. She's got that kind of style, that sound, just the way he plays. You can tell the influence that he had on her. It was good. She's a good player. So, but we just didn't hang out. In fact, when they broke up when not broke up, but when Jackie left, when they were in Hawaii, whatever, Japan, they Joan wanted me to replace Jackie as bass player for the rest of the tour, and Lita said no. So
I see. Wow, that's kind of weird. Yeah, and then they got Vicky Blue.
yeah,
And that Lita actually took her under her wing, sort of, because
yeah,
Vicky, she kind of looked like Lita. That's what I read in Lita's book, at least. So she kind of like mentored her throughout the whole thing. And yeah, but I mean, the whole band was pretty much having a pretty hard time since Cherie and Jackie left.
right. And it wasn't anything that Lita had against me because we didn't know each other. She just didn't want a guitar player, I think, in there. She wanted a bass player, and that I understand that, so it's fine. But and even for the reunion, we bounced around that I would play bass for them, but it's whatever. Now I don't think there's much hope for that, so pretty sure that's not going to happen.
Anyway, next question. Did you write any other songs for the Runaways besides I Wanna Be Where the Boys Are?
I did write Young and Wild and a bunch of other stuff but nothing that they would play them. They played Young and Wild. They played a few other things, and Van Halen played it as well. So there was a few songs that I wrote. Some Like It Hot is another song that I wrote that they played a little bit back then, and nothing else made it onto their album where I could uh, get royalties from or what have you. But we played each other's songs. I played Cherry Bomb, so we did a lot of that back then. So we played each other's music. Had some influence on some of the songs that Joan wrote, that I Love Playing with Fire and stuff like that. Kim and I and Joan got together on LA is Burning, I think, one of the punk tunes that we did in Venus and the Razor Blades, but it wasn't like a collaboration in that Joan wrote it necessarily, but we all sort of played each other's songs back then a little bit. So that's probably the extent of it. By the time I came along, they had their songs. And again, Joan liked my songs, but Kim really was very careful about keeping the writing was real important to him, and he kept it real separate for us. Even though we played them on stage, we played each other's songs. So
I see. Well, I mean, at least you got to write that one, and like
sure.
it's still being
Well,
played.
Joan loved it. It became their mantra of, she played it on every set, every show. So it was kind of fun to have her do that. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I know she still plays Cherry Bomb, like, and at least every single time I've seen her play live,
Yeah.
which has only been, gosh, I can't believe that I only saw her play live twice at this point. The first time was in 2019, and then the second time was just this past summer.
Well, she wrote, she had a hand in writing Cherry Bomb, so she's going to perform that for sure.
Yeah.
I think she's pretty intent on playing the songs she wrote now. So, I understand that. That's all right. I'd like for her to play I Want to Be Where the Boys Are again. That would be great. And maybe she does. I don't know. I haven't seen every show she's ever done. So but she doesn't change up her shows too much. She pretty much sticks to her song choices, you know.
See. I can't remember whether she has played I Want to Be Where the Boys Are at any of the shows that I've been to. But
I don't, I know, and I haven't been, I've only been to a couple myself because we just don't run across each other too often as far as playing anymore. But yeah, once in a while, if I see her around, I'll try to go see her. You know, I don't know how much longer. I heard she had some medical issues happen maybe year and a half ago. So
really,
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
yeah.
Doing. Yeah, I hope she's okay.
Okay, so the next question that I have for you is so in 2009, Shaaron Schumaker and Laurie Beebe Lewis and you co-founded a band called Queen Divas of the
Wow. Yeah, that's right. We did.
And the band's debut album, which is called All Wrapped Up in Christmas, was released in 2011.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so have you known each of those ladies before you started that project with them?
Well, Laurie Lewis was my youngest son's music teacher.
Wow.
And I was dropping off my son, and he was, of course, in her class. And uh, I ran into her one day and I said, "Hey, I play a little guitar if you ever need any help." And she's told me later, she says, yeah, inside her head, she kind of rolled her eyes and figured, sure you do. Everybody, you know, because I'm just there, you know, I'm this little private school and how I mean, she figured I had a little guitar and I played a little bit and played 3 or 4 chords and so she brought me in to play something. I forget what it was with the kids. So I bring this little amplifier and electric guitar and we just rocked it and she about her jaw dropped, you know. So we got to be friends and I said, "Yeah, I'm actually done this for quite a while." And she told me that her history was she played in the Mamas and Papas. You know, she replaced uh, Mama Cass and the Mamas and Papas, and did a lot of years touring with them. And then Shaaron, I think she just knew Shaaron somehow, and we needed a bass player vocalist, and we wanted to do an all girl sort of a trio thing because Laurie plays keyboards. And I don't remember who we had on drums. Oh well, anyway, some drummer. And Shaaron had asked me to do a couple of music projects to play with her. This is in the San Diego area. So we just decided, well, we're kind of, and Laurie's husband and her were having a little argument one day. I don't know, not a bad one, but he yelled across the room to her, "Who do you think you are, the Queen Diva of the universe?" And we decided to name our band that. So that's how that came about. And then, and you know, we performed some, but mostly we did sort of like fun little projects, like the Christmas project. And actually, it's turned out to be some people's very favorite Christmas album. They love it, you know. So it comes out every year. I think we remixed a few songs at one point, but honestly, it's a great Christmas album, and every year I sell a few and people play it again, and it's kind of fun. But that's how I ran into them. I've played with tons of people over the years. Laurie and I still have a pretty good. We don't play music too much anymore because we don't live really in the same area, but we still. I just talked to her the other day. We still chat about things, and we still sell diva CDs at Christmas time. So or however you sell music these days.
Yeah. How long did that project last for anyway?
Well, I mean, probably off and on a few years. Uh, think we probably got together originally around 2009, and it kind of culminated in that Christmas album. I don't think we performed too much after that. So probably 2009 through 2012, I would say it was kind of the diva era.
I see.
Yeah, that was fun though. It was good players, fun girls to play with. So it was cool.
Well,
There,
at least you guys put together a project that lasted for 3 years.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I've stayed the Roni Lee group. I've been the Roni Lee group. This, a solo artist. I'm a solo artist. I don't really have bands. I will play in a band occasionally. That's probably one of I could probably count on three bands I've ever been in my whole life. I just don't join bands. So I've always been an original artist. I write my own stuff. It's always been the Roni Lee group, you know, with different players. But yeah, I played in a Journey tribute band in 2020 during the pandemic. Our last show was March 15th, 2020 in Laughlin, Nevada, when everything got shut down. So I was playing in a tribute band then, and you know, so I've done a couple projects like that, but it's not something that I really am fond of doing. It's okay. I'll do it, but it's not my goal.
Yeah, so you like being the solo artist better.
Well, it's not that I mean, I just am, you know, I write my own songs and I perform, and it's been the Roni Lee group since 1978. So it's kind of hard to get out of that mold once you've done it for that long, for 40 years. But, and again, so that way we write, you know, but I have my writing partner, Lynn Sorensen, he played bass for Bad Company and Paul Rogers for 10 years. So he's been my producer now and my co-writer for years. And we just finished a new album. So, and we play together as much as we can when I can get him on the shows. But if I can't get him, I'll have to hire somebody else. So I do Hired Guns. If you've ever seen the movie Hired Guns, I am a solo artist that hires artists to play with her. And that's what most solo artists are. Sammy Hagar, he's a solo artist. He's got a band, but you'll notice he has different players. He just switched drummers. He went from Jason Bonham to Kenny Aronoff. Kenny Aronoff played on 2 of my albums. You know, he's Rick Springfield. He uses different. I mean, these guys. If there's a name in front of the band, they're a solo artist, and they might have players that they typically have, or they've been with them a long time, but they're not a member of the band. They are a hired gun for the band. They just might be a hired gun for a long, long time. Now I consider Lynn more of a partner in our music because we write together. So obviously in that situation, he's not a hired gun. But when I'm out and I grab a drummer, they're hired. They're hired to play, and they're going to get a certain amount of money, and they're going to get things covered. And it's not the same as everybody taking on, like just watching the Zeppelin movie last night. They were a band, you know, they were 4 people, 25% each of a band. And the 4 of them is kind of like a partnership. I don't have a partnership. I'm other than writing, that's different. But as far as me as a band, I don't have a particular band. I'm a solo artist that hires players, but I have my preferred list, and that you'll see me with most of the time, because I certainly don't want a different player every time. That'd be chaotic. But they're hired to play with me, and we have a great relationship, and we're good friends. But I am a solo artist. Yeah.
Well, I mean, well, kind of like Lita Ford in a way, yeah. Because
absolutely, it's exactly like Lita. Lita has hired guns as well. She's a solo artist. Joan Jett's a solo artist. Cherie Curry's a solo artist.
Joan Jett has been playing with the Blackhearts for since the 80s.
Yeah, but they've changed. You know, the players. She's got a band that she calls the Blackhearts, but the players in the Blackhearts, other than Kenny Laguna, who's her manager, you know, most of them have changed. She doesn't have the same players every, you know, the guitar players changed, you know, I mean, they can change. And even if they don't, even if she's got the ones that she prefers and likes, if one of the guys, say, if the bass player couldn't do a tour, believe me, there'd be a new bass player and they'd be doing the tour anyway. So she is a solo artist. It's Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. So the Blackhearts are a band, right? And that's kind of how the music industry just works as a whole. Billy Joel, famous story with his band. You know, he had his band for 30 years, and all of a sudden you cut him loose, and there's controversy on whether or not he's an asshole. You know, but he's Billy Joel. You know, he can play with whomever he wants to play with. It's not the Billy Joel band, and everybody's got a say in it. That's not how it is. It's Billy Joel, period. And you're right. But a lot of solo artists keep the same players as long as they can, and they treat them well, and they pay them well, and da, 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 da. But at the end of the day, if that whole band was not playing, Joan would still be playing.
Mhm.
So it's there's a definite distinction between a band that has an equal say and they're a partnership group like Led Zeppelin, and somebody who's a solo artist. And usually it's because it's an Tom Petty, solo artist, Eric Clapton, solo artist, Jeff Beck, solo artist. You see Jeff Beck, you never knew who you're going to see play with him. He plays different people every time. So it's just the nature of the business, you know.
Yeah, well, honestly, I have like three more questions left for you.
Okay.
Four, actually, but we've already been at this for an hour, and honestly, I feel like I don't want to give my listeners a longer interview, and I'm pretty sure that you're gonna have enough information for me to fill out another hour for those
Okay.
questions I have for you. So I thank you so much for a great interview, Ronnie, and I will see you
You're welcome.
on Saturday.
I'll see you on Saturday. I can't wait. We'll have some pictures to post of us.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Maria. Bye bye.